and Victoria is still my home ground.
That's a great neighborhood. We are back with Hammer Down. I'm Jay. He's Chris. Chris
For
May.
tonight.
For tonight. And
I'm Bob.
next week.
No,
in
next
for
week,
Mike
yeah.
Neighbors. And you're Bobby Asadarian,
Yes.
correct?
Thank you for having me.
How long has Just Ask Bob been on the air here at
14
Cable 14?
years, proudly, 14 years. I used to have jet black hair.
Yeah, you still
So
look
did
good,
I.
though.
So did I.
Yeah. Do you? I
So
do.
did
I
you.
still do, but I prefer to shave it
Yeah, exactly.
down to the bone. Do you? Now you keep in pretty good shape, and a lot of home rental people, I would assume, are also in good shape because they're always moving and
You're
stretching.
always
and
lifting, you're always
and
bending,
hauling.
you're
but
always
there
doing
are a
everything.
few fat ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like to say that.
Don't hire those guys. Is that your advice?
I like to say, though, if you see them idling in a Tim Hortons parking lot all day,
Yeah.
then they're usually just pushing a pen. They're writing the contracts. They have people doing the work.
Right.
And in some cases, they're unlicensed.
Yeah.
They don't know which end of the hammer hits the nail.
Okay,
So those are the ones you want to avoid.
Okay,
You want
there's
the
a
ones that
chance.
actually work.
Doesn't
Yes.
mean just because they're a little out of shape, they're not licensed, but there's maybe a better
When their
chance.
truck's polluting the environment, idling, especially when it's cold
Okay.
outside for 8 hours in
That
a
could be an indicator.
Tim Hortons parking lot, that could be an indicator.
Excellent. Well, that's just made it impossible for us to go to Tim Hortons parking lots over the next little while, and hopefully people will forget about it or we're going to get rolled.
Shut the engines off.
Yeah.
No excessive idling.
What about drive-throughs?
Drive-through is interesting.
See, that-
Drive-through,
I've always had an issue with drive-thrus.
I have as well.
I wish that they would change the name. I'm going to ask you this, Bob. What if they were to rename drive-thrus express-throughs? So you can't order lunch
Oh,
at
you hit the
Starbucks.
nail on the head. I can't
See?
stand when the vehicle in front of me, you can tell they're ordering lunch and dinner and breakfast for 10 people.
That vehicle, by the way,
coffee.
is a minivan.
If you're in a
Yes,
drive-thru,
yes.
coffee, go. Coffee, go.
Yeah,
coffee,
it should
go.
be express. It should be.
The express
Quick in and out.
Well, how do you like this idea then? This
All right.
this you guys will both like this idea. So we're going to go back to bragging about being a counselor. I never moved a motion on this because I wanted to run a pilot. John Miziek owned the Hess Village Tim Hortons. We have a bylaw, which you may know or may not know about, in the downtown core, and then we expanded it along the LRT corridor. You're not allowed in this town to have drive-throughs. It just defeats the purpose of, we're trying to reduce automotive exhaust and
Reduce
all of those
emissions.
things. This is years ago, my first term. So I'm Johnny and I knew each other from charity stuff. And he wanted a drive-through, and I said, "Oh God!" I went back. I said, "I'll go look into it." And they said, "No, well, you'd have to amend the bylaw, and it won't be very popular." And I looked into it, and I thought, "Yeah, that defeats the purpose." So I went back and I said, "I've thought of something though over the weekend, Johnny. What if you did it the old-fashioned way, like the old A&Ws, where you pull up, turn your car off, and every parking lot space has a speaker, and you press the button and order your." And then the girls can come out and roller skates and deliver whatever. Or
I
once
miss those
they
days.
call,
I like that.
Once they call you back and say your order's ready, then you can turn the car back on and drive around to the drive-through
I
window.
wish I was around for those days.
Was that not genius?
That was nice. That
Johnny
was nice.
shot that down faster than it takes to put a double-double together. He didn't like it at all. And I don't know why.
By
Because
the way,
I would have
loved
helped
your
him.
time on council. Loved you on council.
How was my time?
I loved you on council.
Oh, thank you.
Great work on council.
What was it specifically you loved?
Your passion for the
Yeah, but
board.
specifically.
Taking notes for you.
Everything you did. You were passionate. You were
Like you,
passionate.
Hamilton born and bred, 100% genuine. You might not have liked it all the time, but it was always about, I want a better city for my son, right? That was the way
I'm
I
either
always thought
loved
about it.
or I'm hated, but I'm me.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
Well, let's get into who hates you,
That's
Bobby.
the only way.
Who hates you?
Builders,
Oh, right, yeah.
contractors.
Okay, yeah. What do they say? Like, are these the unlicensed one? They have the balls to get in touch with you?
I'll tell you a story. Lowe's. Can I mention Lowe's on there?
Yeah, of course.
I'm heading into Lowe's.
Sure.
Why not?
This was
Chris
just
doesn't
after,
mind.
this was just after being on this very network interviewed by Larry Deanny, our former mayor. So I had a lot to say about unlicensed road contractors. So I'm heading to Lowe's. Two contractors approached me. They said, "Are you the F&TV contractor?" So
You knew where the
that's
conversation was
Yeah,
going.
that's what they called me. Now, within 5
Red
minutes,
flag.
I had them emailing me their resumes.
You're kidding.
Within 5 minutes.
Oh,
So
wow.
I have
You
a way.
softened them up,
I
eh?
have a way of turning a negative into a positive. You know, we chatted, and then it turned out they needed work, and I said, "No problem. Send me your resume." It worked out beautifully.
Yeah. So Triple R is it?
Triple R Inc.
Okay. So you hired them both?
No. They sent me their resumes.
No, but that's okay.
Didn't go anywhere from there. But at least
I didn't say
at
that.
least I turned the negative into a positive.
When Chris was a weather guy and people would stop and say, "Hey, you screwed up. There was no snowstorm," he would say, "Send me your resume."
Send me your resume.
Yes.
If you're qualified to do it, send me your resume.
That's not bad.
The
Actually.
ones that are licensed, the ones that are legitimate will not have a problem with me, but I don't name anybody on the show.
No.
That's taboo.
Right.
So in public, if they take an issue with me,
Right.
they're automatically exposing themselves as being unlicensed or crooked or whatever they are.
Right.
Otherwise, they should have no issue with me.
Right.
I'm only about advocating and about opening people's eyes. City of Hamilton, master building pair license.
Right.
City does a huge justice to Hamilton homeowners by having a license in place and going through the process of vetting and keeping a database where every homeowner can find somebody licensed.
Yeah.
That's important. Many
Yeah.
municipalities don't do it.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
The province
I thought
does
that was
it.
like mandatory, provincially
No,
legislated.
provincially for electricians,
Right.
gas fitters, as far as general contractors, handymen, painters,
Right.
that sort, the province leaves it up to the municipalities. So
Right.
it is simply the Wild West out there. Burlington stopped it in 2002 for funding reasons. Hamilton, you have to show a police clearance. Think about that for a moment. That's number one. Without a police clearance, you will not get to write the exam. 2-hour open book examination on the building code. You sign an attestation form attesting that your company has $2 million liability insurance. You pass the test with a 70 minimum, you're a contractor. Now, Brantford, listen to this. Brantford, $400, done, you're a contractor.
That's it.
No exam, no police check, no nothing.
I don't care
If you
about
want to
that.
talk about a money grab, that's a money grab. You're paying to be a contractor. So today you could be working at the Big B convenience or pumping gas. Nothing wrong with that. You're working.
Right.
Tomorrow in Brantford, $400, you're a licensed
What I
contractor.
don't get is that in order to do what you do, because I still do an awful lot of work with Mohawk College, where I went to school, and
Like
they-
rental work?
not rental work.
You look handy.
I just do the.
He does
I
look
just
handy.
Do,
He
I
looks
just do the
handy.
pretty boy stuff. I go in and I host things.
Right.
But people go to college. People go to
Yes.
university to learn how to do these trades. They
For
go to-
many, many years
right.
on
so
the sites
it's a
learning.
trade. It would be the same as somebody who just went from, being, say, something else, and then saying, now I want to be an on-air host, or I want to be a
Right.
radio host.
Sure.
And it's like, there are fundamentals
Yes.
in order to be able to do that, because it requires skill. And the reason that they require hours in contractors work, correct me if I'm wrong, it's because now you have the experience.
Correct.
You know consequence. If I do that, that could happen. So
Yes.
you'll avoid doing that. But if you pull somebody out and they just pay $400, next thing you know, they got a hammer and a tool belt and they're going into somebody's home. They don't know the difference between what can go wrong and what will go wrong.
But how about this, Bob? Now, I'm going to be the devil's advocate.
Please,
And I've always
yes.
thought about this whenever I watch Just
Yes.
Us, Bob, or heard your interviews. Surely to God, there's a few guys out there. Everybody's got a guy.
Oh, for
Especially
sure.
in the North End. There's like
Hamilton.
3 guys for every house in the North End.
Guaranteed.
Some of these guys know what they're doing.
Correct.
But they don't have any
Licensing,
certificate or any of
insurance,
that. I mean, I've
WSIB.
had guys in the past. I had a guy do my basement bathroom. Smoked a lot of marijuana. I was
Yes.
very, very nervous going in. In the end, I got a $8,000 washroom, total reno, done to my specs. It was my design, right from everything. I wanted a walk-in shower, the whole bit. Probably would have cost me $22, $25 if I went.
Even 30 plus.
But I knew I was taking a risk, and I was especially nervous, especially when
But
he
you
started
got
smoking
lucky.
the weed in the
you
house.
got lucky.
Okay,
As
so
long
there
as you-
are some
No,
guys
no,
that
there
know
are.
what they're doing.
There are. But as a
Okay.
homeowner now, if you want to roll the dice, roll the dice. There's
Right.
no problem.
But
then they cry to the city, to the municipality.
I
I knew I couldn't do
no,
that.
no, you couldn't.
See?
You couldn't
Yeah,
do that.
I'm not saying it was a cash
So-
deal.
So some,
Hey.
some of the things homeowners have to worry about
Right,
now.
right.
Let's talk about an injury. So the contractor or this so-called
No,
guy,
I-
no, you know what I
know,
mean.
I know.
If
Yeah,
he's
you
injured
don't,
or
yeah.
says he's injured,
Right.
homeowner's
Yeah.
liable.
Yeah,
Just
you know
as
how
if
you
it was
get
a
around
guest
that?
in the
You know how
home.
you get around that?
Put him in an alleyway.
No, you don't give them a hard time about smoking the.
Jeez.
I grew up downtown.
Cannon and Victoria.
Victoria, yes.
So-
Lot
so
of,
is
two,
that
homes
Little
beside,
Italy?
2 houses beside an alleyway.
Is that a little too far away from Little Italy, Sherman and Barton?
Well, we like to think of it as Little Greece, my neighborhood.
Well, yours was
Oh,
Little
yes,
Greece.
yes.
Okay.
All right.
Little
Okay.
Italy, Little Portugal, all throughout, right up to James Street from north to
A
south.
lot of character growing up in
Yes,
that neighborhood.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Cannon and Vic.
Best place to grow up.
Yeah.
Best
yeah.
place.
Yeah, yeah, right. And then the hospital was still just the old General Hospital,
Yes,
probably.
yes.
The old brick thing. You can convert that into some condos in San Francisco.
Now that is
There you
prime
go.
real estate.
There
And
you
my
go.
dad grew up north end Houston, Houston Street North.
Hamilton
That's some
has
great,
history.
great- yeah, some
Especially
amazing
the
history.
old part of the city.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of history and
Right.
good people.
Yeah, no shortage in the older part of the city, I guess, for guys like you, right? Are you turning away jobs constantly?
At times.
At times.
But I'm honest. I'll review it with the homeowners and I'll tell them could be 3 months till I'm in.
Yeah.
Immediately, they want to start with price. I start with scheduling. I want to be honest with them. I can't get to you for 2 to 3 months. Is that okay? If it's not, they
What
keep
about
looking.
the pandemic? You make a killing in the pandemic.
The pandemic
Did you
was
bump
insanity.
prices up?
No.
Supply demand, that's okay.
Well, no, material-wise, yes.
Oh.
During the pandemic, I've been at this 20 years now, licensed. The 2-3 years of the pandemic were the busiest I've ever experienced, ever.
Yeah, everybody was at home. They wanted to.
They're looking around their house for the first time in
Right.
a long time, or probably the first time ever, and thought, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We can do things here.
That's right.
People living from home were losing their minds.
Yeah.
They were calling me in to repaint parts of the home I just painted 2 years ago. To change things that I'd done recently. I said, there's something wrong with my work? No,
Right.
we're bored of it, so we're working from home now.
Right.
They were getting bored of what they were looking at. And for
Wow.
contractors, it was a gold mine.
Right.
Now it's the other end, though. Interest rates,
Right.
mortgage rates.
Right.
Now contractors are hurting. Everybody's hurting.
It's slowing down.
It's slowing down. It's slowing down.
But this is a cycle. It's like anything else. It's like people
Oh, sure.
think
It's always going to be a
everything's
cycle.
cyclical.
Always. I
It's like,
remember
it'll come back
2008.
around again.
Yeah.
The last time this happened in 2008.
You think San Francisco will come back around again?
Yes, they will.
You
Absolutely.
think so?
There's
So
too
what do you
much
do
money.
with all the tents?
Well, the people that are in the tents won't be there in the tents at some point.
Oh, they'll have housing.
They'll have housing. Exactly.
What do you think of this
Or they'll move on.
homelessness and housing crisis? I know you're into fixing stuff.
I have a plan for that. It's an interesting plan.
Oh.
It's an extension
Because
of
I
what,
told you, he ran for politics.
He just said, ask Bob. I said, oh,
ask
hell,
him anything.
it's an
How would
extension
you
of what was
fix
done
housing?
after World War II.
Yes.
Small homes.
Right. Right.
But a step further. You have to think now, we have to have a way for our children to get into the market. So I'm proposing small wartime style homes.
Yeah.
800
Like
square
we
feet.
did after, yeah,
But
yeah.
there's a twist though. I don't believe your front entry door needs a window. I don't believe you need fancy cabinets. Plywood's fine. I don't believe that home needs any ceramic tile. Vinyl and then carpet in other areas. Bare bones.
Keeps the cost down.
Oh,
Entry
absolutely.
level.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
the key though. I can build those homes. Those homes can be done. Those homes can be designed, starter homes, for $400,000 or less. City has to get involved. Province has to get involved. Because now you purchase this, you get in. After 1 year, you don't like that door, cut out the center, put in a glass light. You want better cabinets, work hard, save your money, do it.
So like they
You
did
want-
with a lot of those
yes,
wartime homes.
you want
Some of them
tile,
are just beautiful.
pull up the
Build
vinyl
an
and put it
addition.
in.
So wait a minute. Sorry, Chris. You're
no,
next. You're saying how many square feet?
800 square feet,
800 square feet, bare bones, as you've described. it.
$400,000.
400 seems a bit steep, Bob.
But here's
See,
the-
this is why I have guys.
But here's the thing now. When you cut the crooked overcharging builder out of the equation, it can be done. Builders build for profit.
Of
This
course,
will
and there's
not be-
nothing wrong with
no,
that.
No, there's nothing
Nothing
wrong with that. There's nothing wrong
You're
with
gonna
that.
get in trouble in Lowe's
No,
again.
no. So here we're going to have. We need a two-tiered system in Ontario.
Okay.
The builders will build the homes for the high middle class to
yeah,
rich.
of course, sure.
And the government, at cost,
Yes.
will build these starter entry homes for $400,000. Now
That
this
still seems
introduces,
steep at
but
800
this
for bare
introduces
bones.
a new problem though. Government mismanagement. I'm not going to say it's
Oh,
going to be perfect.
you're factoring that in.
Oh, it's factored in. It's factored
That's 200
in.
right there. I
the
gotcha.
government can ruin it.
Yes.
If it's done at bare bones, if it's done at cost,
Gotcha.
the government can't be doing it to profit.
Yeah, gotcha.
This can work, but I mean bare bones. I mean plywood cabinets.
Yeah, no,
so the
I-
cabinets out of a
Yeah.
the old
That's why
homes.
it's hard for me to. 400 seems
So
steep.
people are gonna
400 for how
complain.
many?
Well, for what? 400.
Does that not seem?
What do you,
It can be
you
done.
wanna buy a box of
Plywood-
six?
You ever see it
That's
rolling
a
up?
neighborhood,
from
correct?
the drive-through.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
you're
ever see
describing
Rona,
a
those-
low shed.
Well, close. You ever see at Rona those white plastic door
Yes.
handles?
They're actually selling tiny homes at Rona and Lowe's and Walmarts and all of them now. They are literally selling these tiny homes.
Oh, they're
they're
gonna get it.
about 15 Gs, 9 Gs,
the shed-
14
the
Gs.
sheds.
They're
But
glorified sheds, yes.
They're
Yeah,
8
glorified
square feet,
sheds.
though. They're not 800. They're 8 square feet.
Well, they're not 800. Yes, 800, maybe that's what it is. 800's pretty big. That's a one bedroom.
800's good.
decent size.
Yeah.
So it has to be a process. Builders, and again, to their
I
you know,
like
to,
your-
to,
I
to
like
their,
where
to,
you're
to their
going.
defense.
Yeah, you need to bring it down
There's a place
150
for them, though. There's a
Yeah.
high-end middle class to rich.
Yeah.
This program has to be done by cutting out profit. Builders can't build
course.
without profit, and that's fair to them.
Yeah.
Government
builders
has
could
to be
do it.
involved.
Builders can do it, but we would subsidize builders. They know what they're doing.
You know, there's a market for both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
The
yeah.
builders, again, high middle class to rich, and now government involved for these entry homes.
Yeah.
And there's qualifications. You can't buy it to flip it. You
Yeah.
can't buy it to rent it out.
See?
There has to be parameters, and it has to be first time only.
Yeah, there's programs like that
Yeah.
already.
Have
If
every-
you
have
Habitat
everything
for
in
Humanity,
place.
you have to. You get a hell of a deal.
Yes.
But you got to live there for 20 years. You can't
Exactly.
sell it. And
Lots
maybe
of
it's 30
legalities
and-
we'll have to put
Yeah,
in
we're
place.
doing that on Pure 8. Anyway,
Yeah.
just ask Bob, Chris. Anything. Your
Hit
turn.
me.
The
What-
thing's coming out of your ear again, by the way.
Oh, what
it's
is
okay. It's a
happening here?
podcast. Nobody can
This
see
is
it.
unbelievable.
Yeah, he had a form-fitted earpiece back.
Oh,
at
I
the
seen him
Weather
adjust.
Network.
I was watching your
The
show
Weather
before I
Network,
came
though,
on.
he had his own.
Excuse me. I seen you adjusting
okay.
it, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, just take it off. I'll take the cues.
No,
I
I
did
like-
studio
no,
whole.
you need it.
I did
I know.
studio whole season. I hated that thing in my ear. It would fall out. It fell out while we're on
That's why I
live.
got the fitted one. All I was going to say to that conversation is like that has been my biggest wonder is how all of a sudden did the starter home disappear? You know, people would always go. You'd see this is a perfect home.
Well, it
to-
did.
Didn't
became a
create,
condo.
Your
it
first-
didn't create
first
enough
time.
profit for the builder.
Well, it became
Right.
a condo.
It didn't create enough profit.
A condo is
The
a
Oh,
starter
yeah,
home.
condo
yeah.
went from being.
But have you seen these condos, quartz?
That's the
Granite.
I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. The condos, do they necessarily need to have quartz and countertops and marble?
They don't,
and
but the builder pushes it. The
in
builder
order
pushes it.
to charge
Profit.
for profit. Exactly.
Builders in Ontario don't even have on the list to wrap your foundation, to waterproof it. They don't have in the upgrades.
Really?
It's not on the upgrades list, and it's
that's
not
a
on the
surprise.
upgrades list to have underlayment under your shingles. So the two most important things, your foundation and your roof. But you know what's on the upgrades list? Hardwood, pot lights, granite, and quartz.
There you go.
Those are the money makers. Back to my Bob's Affordable Plan, so we brought this up about finishes, though. This is important.
on your
though.
website?
What is
no,
this?
no, because
Okay.
this may
Is
shock
this a
some
Simpsons
of
episode?
This may shock some of your
telling you.
viewers. This 800 square foot cookie cutter entry home,
Right.
no pot lights, no quartz, no granite,
The basics.
absolutely bare
It's
minimum.
the kind of house my grandparents would have grown up in
Yes.
post-war.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a starter home. One family
North
moves
End.
in, they
Yeah.
build equity, they save money, they move into a larger home.
way it
and then
used to happen.
somebody
Or
else moves in
Or add on.
But
Yeah.
it was happening
with
like
permits.
Well, of course. Well, that's for sure.
I
For
mean,
sure.
It goes without saying.
Yeah.
That's the way it was up until maybe 15 years ago.
Yes.
It was like that because I bought into a starter, and then I saved my pesos, and the place that I had was a basic startup. It was a condo, and nail pops and stuff like
Yes.
that. Okay, it wasn't
Plaster home.
Plaster home. It wasn't
Yes.
the best, but then you move up a tiny bit more, and then all of a sudden, an explosion within the past 12 to 15 years, and the first time homeowner house, the starter upper, they disappeared.
But the young generation now, they don't have patience. They want to move in and immediately have the quartz, the granite, the pot lights, everything. There's also
Yeah.
that perception.
Yeah.
Young people don't want to buy a starter that they have to live with or fix it up every
Well,
year.
that's okay.
They
Let
want it
them
all
be.
right off the
There's
bat.
no shortage of folks just below the poverty line that'll be more than happy
Oh,
with,
no, exactly.
with the Just Ask
Exactly.
Bob design.
Yes.
And really, if you don't like that, what other options? I mean, there's a
you
lot
gotta
of
have a lot of
folks that
money.
are
You gotta have
like
a lot of
on
money.
the fringe.
Well-
well, no. The other option is you're living in a freaking tent.
Oh,
And
yes,
you-
yes,
that's
yes.
So
And that's
take
unfortunate.
Bob's
That's terrible.
prefab 800 square foot, $400,000 subsidized by the government.
Yes.
It's a much better option. In fact, we have, and
Fantastic
again, back
option.
to Far on Council, which you loved, Bob.
Yes.
I very much, much to the surprise of many people who've been following the story in the North End, where they were going to put the 25 sheds for the homeless.
Yes.
And I worked with the community, opposed a decision, ratified decision by council, and they decided a bad idea because the North End went ape. Right?
They did. They went crazy.
Because it was ill-conceived and it wasn't fair. Nobody communicated with the community. But I always supported the concept because it's much safer, much better. You're living communally. You have people all around taking care of you. But the initial pitch, which was to the previous council that I was part of, everyone supported unanimously because they were following a Kitchener model where they were putting it in a place that wasn't going to be as disruptive. Because as much as you want to sugarcoat and pretend if you're an activist supporter of this concept, there is going to be trouble. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is.
Yep.
And you can't pretend there isn't. So, great. We all went thumbs up. Thank you, Tom Cooper and gang. We love this idea. We endorse this idea. Come back to us when you find a suitable location. And for 3 years, they couldn't find a suitable location, and they decided to put it in the middle of a neighborhood, which was just completely the wrong thing to do, and then they learned the hard way, right? Now I hear they've found a much more suitable location. This isn't what you're talking about. These are literally sheds.
Yes.
But it's the next step may be exactly what you're talking
Exactly.
about, I think.
Nobody should live in a tent.
No,
All our
it's the
children
most
deserve-
unsafe, inhumane, idiotic thing for any city, San
is.
Francisco, Hamilton, or
Doesn't
any other.
matter
Why
where it
they're
is.
allowing it is just absolutely, and especially in a nation such as this. There's too many smart people, there's too many caring people that this should be going
The
on.
disparity
It's
between
just
the have-nots
ridiculous.
and the haves
Right.
is disgusting.
Yeah, unfortunately,
And this-
there's a bigger conversation here about the attitudes. Chris and I talked about it the other day. There's also addictions and mental health issues
Yes,
of the
yes,
individuals
yes.
themselves.
Right.
And this is their preference. And too many people are kowtowing and coddling up to that preference when in reality we should be helping them and getting them out of the headspace that this is a good idea to be
Exactly.
sleeping rough, inhumanely and unsafely outside. There you go.
One of-
Not fair for anybody.
You just heard a 2011 speech from the council floor, Chris.
Really?
While you were on the Weather Network, that's the kind of crap I was up to. That's the stuff I preached
You
all
fought
the time.
for people.
I did.
Your passion
I was the people
came
themselves I was
through.
fighting for, and I still think
You have a different venue now.
people like you we should listen to you. You know what you're talking about, and
Not
it isn't.
enough
How
people
fast can
listen
you
to
throw
us.
together one of those $400,000 homes?
If
How
it's
quickly
set
can
up,
you build it?
Month and a half, 2
Infrastructure's in
months.
place. City's already got it there.
Month and a half, 2 months.
There you go. That's how many?
But as many as needed. But we need all levels of government. Municipal, provincial.
That's the other thing.
Everybody's got
That's
to
a
kick
huge
in.
problem.
Everybody. Or our next generation is going to be on rent forever.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
So you want to solve
Eliminate them
homelessness,
being on
Chris
rent.
May? Just ask Bob.
Just ask Bob.
There you
Thank
go.
you. Thank you.
When's your show on again?
Every Wednesday,
Right,
tonight,
yes.
10 p.m.
Oh, that's why we
Oh,
were
no,
plugging it for a while.
Yeah,
there.
first Wednesday of the month is a premiere episode, and then it repeats the entire month. On the TV guide, you can find exact times. But tonight, 10 p.m.
Okay, and
Okay,
your website is again?
JustAskBob.com.
Yeah, that's simpler. You used to
very
be
easy.
triple R something something
Correct.
something. And
Just
yeah,
Ask
hell of
Bob.
a time
We named it
plugging
after the show.
Perfect.
That's what you
JustAskBob.com.
do. That's branding.
Yes.
That's branding.
May all of your future perusing of the aisles in both Home Depot, Lowe's, and Rona, of course,
Be safe.
be safe for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Bobby
matter. I'm
Asadorian.
always in trouble, always will be, but I enjoy what I
away
do.
from
You're the kind
parking
of guy
lots.
that can handle yourself, though. Hammer down. It's Jay and Chris May.